We're talking about range and pasture management with Dow AgroSciences. Let's turn back to range and pasture specialist John Duran. John, when is the best time to treat that brush?
Okay, well, Kevin, that varies somewhat based on where you are in the country, but a good rule of thumb is to wait until that brush is fully leaved out, and that includes not waiting until it's too late. You know, later in the season, some brush species are damaged by insects or drought situations, but we want those brushy plants to be fully leaved out. So typically, that's somewhere in that midsummer range is a good time to treat brush. And but make sure, when I'm talking to cattlemen, a lot of times I'll compare it to a solar charger. The bigger that solar panel, the more energy that panel can take in and charge more miles of fence. The more leaf area we have, the more herbicide can be taken into that plant to kill more root mass under the ground, which is really what's important in killing those brushy plants. And then also there's some year-round applications. Remedy Ultra, one of our products, can be used year-round in either a basal or cut stump application. You mix it with a basal oil. And again, that's a year-round application and controls quite a few species of brush.
That's great. Well, when it comes to treating brush on your operation, what are some things a rancher and farmer should consider when choosing the proper herbicide to control that brush? Bob?
Well, some of the key issues to consider, and probably primary of those issues, is what species are you trying to control, or complex of species are you going to control? Because there's certain herbicides or combinations of herbicides that control certain species better than others. So you need to be able to identify the species that you're trying to control, and then from there, then determine, well, what product do I need to apply that's safe to the grasses, because obviously you want to increase grass production. That'll be released once those brush species are controlled. Look at the environmental profile of the herbicide as well. Make sure that you're comfortable with some of the limitations or attributes of that herbicide as it relates to the environment. And then also, is a herbicide a restricted use herbicide? If it's a restricted use herbicide, then you have to have special certification to apply that herbicide, or have a custom applicator that has that certification apply that particular herbicide. And then you want to work with applicators that have had experience treating brush, because treating brush and managing brush is different than managing broadleaf herbaceous weeds that we've talked about earlier in our previous segments. So those are some of the key issues to keep in mind as you're looking at controlling brush and managing brush.
We're talking about residual weed control. Pat, would you mind explaining to our viewers what do we mean by residual products?
Okay. When you think of in terms of residual weed control, it's not only treating the plants that are out there at the time of application as a foliar treatment, but the herbicide actually remains active in the soil, so that it provides control of later emerging weeds. Sometimes they're not present at the time of application. They're as a seed. And as they emerge later on in the season, as conditions warm up, then that residual weed control can provide the control of those particular weeds.
That's great. Well, this is a great discussion and so timely with the cost of feedstuffs these days. I really appreciate your input today.